All right, what's up, everybody? Spencer and Brent from Side by Side Fury. Today, we're going to kind of extend our plow install. So if you haven't checked it out already, check out our 72-inch plow blade install video. But today, you know, Brent, you and I both love to plow, right? Whoever gets here first, we get to plow. So what's your least favorite part of plow?
The absolute least favorite is getting out of a heated cab and having to turn the blade time and time again is a pain in the butt.
Yep, getting
especially
out
when
sucks.
it's snowing. Especially when it's snowing.
Getting out sucks. Okay, yeah. So we both agree on that, but we're going to fix that problem today. We're going to install a hydro turn kit that Moto Alliance hooked us up with. So hydro pump, some wiring, some solenoid, a rocker switch, so we don't have to get out anymore. We can push left and right, and that blade's going to turn itself. So what are you thinking? Maybe a few hours?
Yeah, maybe if that, 2, 3, maybe, if you're taking your time, chilling.
All right,
yeah.
Well, let's get to it. Let's get this baby going.
So I already know I have to extend these wires before my switch is going to go. Instructions say put it to a key on dash something, you know, somewhere in the dash. It's way easier on a Polaris, or as far as this Polaris, because it has a bus bar outside. It's easier to run everything back outside and simplify it. So I'm going to add these wires here while I'm playing. And don't be haters on your comments when I'm using my torch, because I use my torch all the time, and it works awesome. So we're gonna punch a hole in one of the dash cutouts, pre-cuts, or whatever. They've got their little template on here. Makes it really nice. If you've already got switch holes, find a switch hole and put it in it. You know, whatever's convenient for you. Obviously, we've got our overhead light here. We've got our winch control here. We're gonna put it right next door to here. We're just gonna punch a hole, then we're gonna push it all through, get up in there. Generals are pretty easy. This thing's got the ride command in it. It's also got a heater kit in it, so it does have a few things in here. Just kind of be careful, make sure there's nothing in behind here, wherever you're punching your hole, and we'll get it done. It's easier to go back with a file and open it up, but it's pretty hard to put plastic back up where you've cut something out. So it's a lot easier to not overdo it and then go back and trim it and make sure it works and fits perfect. So one thing like I said, I say this over and over and over again, cut it once lightly. If you have to go back in, trim it up, and then if you go back in again and file it, test fit your hole. I mean, obviously, it's not even close, but which is nice because it's nice and tight. So go in, like literally, clean it up with a file. It's so much easier to file it out and file your corners, make sure everything's nice and pretty. Loose is not a good thing on a rocker switch, because if you cut that hole too big, it is going to be sloppy, and every time you push it, it is going to be way too big. So, test fit it. And I try to do this no matter what. Anything you're cutting, I don't care if it's round hole, I don't care if it's a square hole for a switch. You know, cut it once, trim it out. Everybody's like, oh, I don't have time, I just want to trim it. I just want to cut that sucker and throw it in. Well, if you got a really good template, that may work. But most of the time, templates are on the larger side. And it's probably a lot easier to, not say force it, but you know, when you go in there and you push that sucker in there nice and tight, it's definitely going to be solid, and it's going to last for a lot longer than the hole was so big. This has got a heater kit in it, so sometimes I think the biggest issue is going past all the ducting and stuff. I think I got a pretty good shot. If I can get this in there and then I can get my hand back behind it, it might save me a lot on the getting my arm chewed up for getting in there, but it's much easier to go on this particular model to go into the bus bar. We've got battery feed, we got our winch power, we've got a key on power, so everything's good to go. We're gonna loop this through here and put this big grommet back in this wall so everything looks good and pretty. I would usually suggest when you're running your wires, get them back behind the grill as best you can, and then from there on out, we're gonna zip tie this all up here, so that we're probably gonna zip tie this around this ram so that it doesn't get, if it does get pulled on, it's got something to pull to instead of pulling the wiring out of the motor, the actuator. So we're gonna put this up in here and we're gonna zip tie this all back in here. Probably the best thing you can do is make sure that this stuff is tied up as best you can so that it don't get dragged in anywhere. And then once you put it all up in here, like zip tie everything up in here, which I will. And I'm going to mount this. I'm going to mount this up here, which I think will be a little cleaner. And there actually is holes that Polaris provided for another. It was probably their design or their winch mount, which was pretty simple. But kind of a funny tip for the day for zip ties. If you put a little bit of water in your zip ties, in the bag your zip ties are in, obviously the bag has, all the water's come out of the bag, but if you put water in your zip tie bag, your zip ties will stay more pliable, like legit. So I'm gonna zip tie that. This is all gonna come in here. Simple 2-wire connectors. This is all from your switch. So your key on or your battery feed or however you end up putting it on. I mean, obviously this is a general, but this may be completely different for something else. Could be an XP, could be a Yamaha, could be a Honda Pioneer. So wherever they give you a ground and they'll give you a key on power, which is gonna be good. This is where a lot of ton of extra wire could be, because you're putting this underneath a seat, you're putting it back under a console. They're trying to give you enough wire to make it work and work efficiently. I'm gonna whack this down because I'm like literally right here, which is gonna take out 4 feet of wire. So I know a lot of guys don't have the ample connectors or say extra wiring or even the tools to do this, but you know, if you can, clean it up. Everybody sends you just an absolute extra bunch of wires. It just makes their life easier. But when you're making something that's, you know, it's not the cleanest in the world, but this is factory, and if you add 6 more feet and 6 more feet and 2 more feet and another foot, it just gets really crazy. this will get like pulled on, and it'll pull this wire right straight out of this actuator, and you know, it's kind of at the discrepancy of whoever's putting it in, whether it's going to be warrantyable or not. So I like to put a couple of industrial size zip ties, and I know I'll put those in there, but I'm going to put that with enough space. That, to me, that looks pretty darn good as far as like where it's going to go. So I know that they want to put this ram in. They didn't have any spacers. I went and found some spacers, just so it just sits there. And it may be that they want that little bit of play. I don't know that I can get both spacers in here, but looks pretty good. Found couple two spacers that we had laying around. I think that looks pretty darn good. So yeah. So I think my spacer idea worked good.
All right, cool. So it looks like we're at the point where we get to test it out. A little over an hour and a half. Brent's the man, so he flies through this. But I see he's got the ram on. Looks like all the gussets went on good. He's got the solenoid mounted. Everything fished through. Rocker switch. So moment of truth. Let's see what we got. So it's wired to accessory power, obviously. Yeah, look at that. No more getting out. Push of a rocker switch. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So I think we got snow on Sunday. I'm gonna beat Brent here, so I get to be the first one to use it. We'll see, he's an early riser, but.
Well, and the nice thing about this is it I think it adds more stability to the plow itself.
I like the gusseting back. I think where we were loose before is a little better supported, where it's actually turning on the push tube area. So I do like that. I mean, we beat the crap out of this, so any sort of gussets we can apply to this is better. But yeah, it looks good. So don't forget, click link below, get your Moto Alliance gear today, like get you the setup that we've got going on.